The first one is the ISO 17065 accreditation. This is unique for an organization which is a non-profit organization like GlobalPlatform. This accreditation covers both the functional and the security for SE and TE. It gives proof to the market of the quality, the continuous improvement, the impartiality of the processes that are in place for these certification schemes. It is an additional confidence for the organization like EMVCO, GSMA, FIDO that are leveraging our certification schemes. It's also an additional assurance for the vendors who are going through the qualification of their product. And with the requirements that are coming up for the cybersecurity, it's important to increase the trust between the different parties like the lab, the scheme, the product vendor, the solution provider. The ISO 17065 is one of way to increase the trust. The second achievement this year is the MUD file server. This is a free service that is available using the MUD file technology for device onboarding. This is an initiative to help in the adoption of a very low-cost technology to increase the security. It's for the vendors a way to share the device capabilities, and for the IT manager, it's then easier to set up safely the network to manage the multiple IoT devices that will connect. The last important achievement is CZIP. We have a new version available, and we are starting discussion with Sensenelec. We added two documents with the feedback we received from the Sensenelec experts. So those are the three important achievements from last year.
So our world is becoming increasingly connected, right? So every single device and service is having some sort of connectivity. Mobile operators are at the core of that connectivity. So for them, it's extremely important to be able to be in the conversations that cover security. Security will be one of the most important pillars of the future of connectivity of devices and services, being there in the mobile phone all the way to our cars, our cities, healthcare devices, pretty much everything in the future. So in GlobalPlatform, it's in our core DNA, device security. So as we evolve into, for example, UICC, it's going to be very important to understand how applications and wallets can securely be stored in the secure element, can be transferred when you change a provider. And operators are at the core of that conversation. They're an important part of the ecosystem and need to participate in that. But also on security. When we look at security of devices, when we look at software, when we look at all the way to IoT platforms, it is very important to understand the implications, to understand what needs to be done, to be part of the definition of requirements and also of the solutions. So right now, we are working on SAM implementation in a UICC context, and that's an important piece for mobile operators. But we are also looking at identity interoperability. We are looking at how new devices can be built in a way that includes a better understanding of security of components, and how do we accelerate and improve time to market of new devices and of new connected things. So they can get involved in that. In the US in particular, we're looking at software bill of materials and their implications. And that's another area that, especially for US operators, it's a quite important area to look into. And overall, when we look at the future of automotive, for example, it's an area where mobile operators will be at the core of connectivity. And so the conversations of how we increase security and how we improve the development of new innovation in the automotive sector, they're one element of the ecosystem that needs to be present in the discussions.
CESIP is for us an important topic again for the coming year. Continuing the discussion with the Sensenelec is really important. Improve again the methodology. Also educate the market. We will launch an onboarding program for lab and schemes, and we will support initiative to create IoT scheme for specific vertical. There's also a strong development in the trusted platform service. We have a couple of specifications that are ready for publication. The client API, the key store, the entity attestation. In addition to that, we are launching an open source. We will have a couple of reference implementation that will be available for TPS API. The last important topic is again IATOPIA. We are under discussion for the cybersecurity requirement in US with the president's order. There's a discussion around the software bill of material, SBOM. And we want to have a thorough analysis because we propose to manage it dynamically rather than having a static publication. Also, we will continue, obviously, to work on the MUD file and the service associated to that to help the market. And we will start also a discussion for the post-quantum cryptographic deployment in the IoT.
So, global platform in the next year, we will continue to focus on all the things that are part of our DNA of making sure that we look at device security and services security, and we are and continue to be the leaders in that conversation. But we also will expand and take our strengths to our areas where the work that we have developed could be of use in the conversation. So automotive is one area where security will be very important. It will be very important because a car is no longer a car. A car is a platform that has many different services. It's sometimes a car without a driver, sometimes a car that is electric. And the ability to make sure that we introduce a standards-based approach to innovation will make sure that automakers are able to decrease their times of production, improve their innovation processes, and reduce the costs of R&D. So we will look at creating a conversation with the different players of the automotive ecosystem to make sure that we are able to bring the strengths of Global Platform and create value to that ecosystem. We'll also look at other areas like identity. So not to try to recreate an identity standard for everyone, but to make sure that when different identity schemes want to use a particular element of identity or wallet that can be in a secure element, that process is interoperable regardless of what identity scheme you're using. So we will look at demonstrating how SAM in particular could be used for a wallet so that the different identity schemes out there could take advantage of the technology and enable a user to use their driver's license regardless of where they are in the world. So that's another area that we are entering into that is very aligned with our DNA and very aligned with the activities we've had in the past. But as technology and things evolve, it's an area of relevance, I think, for the ecosystem. We'll also look at software bill of materials and how do we make that process to be a process that is useful, that is enables us to have also the ability to identify risk and vulnerabilities and make it so that companies take value out of the process. It has been created because of legislation. And so it will have to be implemented in the United States. However, we want it to be a useful process, and we wanted that everyone understands what needs to be done and how do you take value out of it. So that's another area that maybe a little bit more with focus on the US, or for companies that want to sell services and devices within the US, but also an area that aligns very well with security and the ability to bring ecosystems together to deliver value. In order for us to be successful in our vision for the next year, and as with any standards organization or association, we need the collaboration of the ecosystem, the different parts of the ecosystem. So we urge every company that is interested in any of the topics that we're going to be looking at, if they have particular requirements, if they want to be involved in the discussions of the potential solutions, that they reach out to us and that they get involved and they participate in the work that we have planned.